Huge greetings, welcome Wihtwarians from Wake the Wight. Now that we are in this wonderful time of spring, and all our senses can feel and see the new bringing of flowers and smells, and we are so wanting to get out there. Freedom calls, people. We have had the harshest winter, hard months, and in that time we have been able to reflect. It's been a time of introspection, and for me it's been very much a case of looking to my life, seeing where I want to go from here. I think we are all looking towards a new beginning, having hope in our hearts. I know, and maybe many of you have faced some demons in this introspection. I put my hand up and say, yes, I have faced a few. And of those, I have found that I've allowed this demon energy, for want of a better phrase, to walk with me, not looking at it, and allowing it to walk with me. And so I want to take this opportunity to invite you to take another look at our very special sacred places on the island that we love to go to, that I'm aching to go and see more, and that we have not seen them in the right light. Let's take a look at the first one. I'm renaming it Nerthos Oak. I am focusing on two aspects of the Wihtwara Trilogy, the first book and the third book, now in its final editing stage. And with each of these excerpts, I am looking, as our ancestors had done, to the ancient places that they revered and that we love. The first one is what has been falsely called, due to false myth, the dragon tree. The dragon tree that now I want to call Nerthos tree, Ellen tree, whichever name you feel fits this oak, has got a genome that wants it to grow downwards towards the earth, to straddle the stream rather than grow upwards to the sky. Now the false myth began, I don't know when, maybe Victorian times, maybe later, but it is surrounding a really iniquitous character named Tarquin, who was later called Saint Tarquin of Vectus, although that is not found in any of the Roman Catholic list of saints, so we know that the whole story is fake. Returned from the Crusades as a ruthless mercenary and encountered a dragon who had eaten all the children of Brystone. He went to St Mary's Church, prayed and decided to kill said dragon, who shriveled and turned to wood. Hence, it has become known as the dragon tree. In fact, the tree has been age dated and was a little shoot, approximately 650, just a gleam in a little acorn's eye at the time of the very last Crusades. The simple truth is that it is the shape of the tree that has given the dragon title, not the myth. But our ancestors saw the earth energies, which we may call dragon, as the energies that fluctuate and flow through the whole of our land. They would not have seen it as we have been led to think as dragons, and it leads us on to that immortal picture of St. George killing the dragon. And to me, that is just about the whole emphasis of killing Mother Nature. In the two readings that follow, there will be quite a few words in Anglo-Saxon. And it has been done because that was the original language used back then. Some people might find the words tricky, but I have put translations in, and I hope that the energy of the narrative is helped by using the original language. I personally love using it. The first excerpt is from the first book, the Wihtwara, and it is from chapter 13, and is called Nethos. And at the end of this excerpt, there comes the prophecy from the Ancestors, and it shines a light on times to come for them, and it also shines a light for us at this time now. It is so relevant because we need to make moves to create a better future. The sacred grove of Nethos was hidden within tall and ancient trees. The carriage holding the throne, taking our demolished Gwen to her appointed place, continued with the priests walking behind. The oxen, now finding the ground flat, picked up a speed that lilted the carriage to and fro. Eldis sat erect, her face inscrutable. She swayed with the motion, but not one expression showed on her beautiful face. The white gown flowed gently, the weird rapace glinted at her feet. Barefoot and without any other adornment, she looked ethereal. Silence. No words were spoken as Elise and the priests became as one with the forest of trees. They disappeared. Saga, my mother with Aslaug, and myself followed several spear lengths behind. The low-lying branches of the giant beech caressed us as we passed. The smell of forest earth, anemone and garlic filled the air. Butterflies skipped in a dance around Suni's rays. It took a while to walk through the forest of Haligawil at Scorawella. The spring was eternally fed. The pool where Nethos may emerge lay hidden within deep tree root and foliage. The path was narrow, and the carriage just squeezed through. Elise brought her cloak around her to keep away the branches. Her head was now bowed in deep prayer. A tension was beginning to grow. I tried so hard to keep the recent images from breaking into my calm. The carriage had come to a halt. The oxen, now relieved of their struggle, was led away. Before us lay a truly beautiful ancient oak, so old its branches had become huge pathways. This oak straddled the rushing waters from the sacred spring. Its spirit lay in complete communion with Nethos. It had forsaken the journey upwards to the sky to meet with Thunor or even Suni and Mona. It was so entrusting, this old oak. It had stretched its branches even to the water's edge of the sacred pool itself, as if seeking only to unite with the goddess. But it was fecund, healthy, and the sap-green new leaves hung everywhere like small emeralds. Suni was nearing the journey tonight, so we waited silently for a few moments. True twilight was Nethos's time, when Suni embraced Mona briefly before leaving. The whole grove was still, not a breath of wind nor the cry from a bird. Eldis shook momentarily, then so easily and so slightly there came a mist, a blue-tinged mist that deftly caressed the serpent oak, twirling around the knotted and roughened trunk branches closest to the pool. Intertwining with the purpose of binding, the mist deepened and intensified, so the hue became both blue and the sap green of the oak leaves. I saw the oak shake through its entire body as if woken from a long sleep. Together, oak and mist slowly danced and swayed in silent, sacred union. It was a wondrous moment for all us humans present. We were risen to a higher plane, closer to the gods, closer to the Norns and Woden, Freyja and Thunor. By all the gods, I thought, she is coming. The union continued for many heartbeats as we watched, in trance and at total peace. Then so slowly, and as easily, the mist curled away and wrapped itself to become a form growing above us, and above the low-lying oak. And so it intensified and became more solid, and I dared look up to see an exquisite face of a woman form in front of us. Hair flowing like tendrils in turquoise and green, eyes that shone with the brightest light behind them, and a smile to caress and love us. Her gown was gossamer thin, like woven spider webs, and it gently swayed of its own in the still forest that held its breath. A voice in my head, soft but clear as a lark, spoke. Min fail further beyond tame, Icterian thu, in thin will sumnes unfriagan un me un min sunu wodan. Thin sawal is el unclean. Ich bringan arande, glith stan wheel. My beloved earth children, I honour you in your devotion and love for me and my son Woden. Your spirit is strong and pure. I bring a message. Listen well.
Ancient people of the 7 tribes, you who have forsaken your homelands to live in the sacred Isle of Wickland, bring with you a covenant that will soon come alive. In your children's time, and in their own children's time, a force will bear down on all who worship Mother Earth. All who live within the gods' loves, who stay close to the near world of spirit through love of animals and flowers, plants and all living creatures. This force will try to annihilate every human who worships nature, or force them into their religion because they see their way as supreme. They believe they have dominion over all living things, and they fear the gods of nature. They will fear your strength, and they will kill you because of it. There is one amongst you who has seen this, who is now hiding in the shadows. Your prayer has been heard, Dagranwal of the Warini, protector and defender of the stones. Come forward, Bjorn. You of all here must hear my words. Dagranwal, your forebears are close. Your elder Mordor is never far from your side. My son Woden has spoken to you. Have courage. You carry the blood of the stones within you. Walk into that power, my dear. Know the stones, their spirit and their strength. They are waiting to give you all that you need for the years ahead. Let them into you too. See the pictures they hold for all time without fear. Teach your children all that you know. Bring them to feel the stones as part of themselves, for it is they who will pass our knowledge on to the earth children many eons from now. Be certain of this. The flame of our spirit, the ways of the Earth Mother, will be brought to nothing but a flicker in times to come. And it is only by recording our knowledge in the stones that our ways will be reborn again. And now in this time, this covenant will only survive if you all join. All the tribes here on Wickland need to speak and feel with one accord. This too must be passed down to your children. You may believe the Romans are your common enemy. Ha! But they are nothing compared to those who will arrive on these shores. The Romans may tax your bodies and steal your wealth. Those coming will suck the very spirit from you, and it is only when the spirit of the people dies that the nations will fall to their knees. Hear me well.
As we focus on the importance of that prophecy given to the Wihtwara in Nerthos Grove, we should look at that part that talks about the sacredness of the stones, the Halig Stan, because our ancestors knew that the stones were able to record and send out messages, and it is that impetus that gives the Wihtwara the ability to save their spiritual life in the oncoming onslaught of fundamentalist religion that is set on subsuming all nature-loving lifestyles. I refuse to call the most sacred place on the island the Devil's Chimney, because that is not its name. When I first made the journey down those steps into what can only be described as Nerthos's underworld, the womb of Nerthos, all the beautiful smells and the trees and all of the ground foliage just makes you take a deep breath in and absolutely love the place. It was a wonderment to me when I first turned round and saw that face in the rock with the golden eye, that smiling face that I knew straight away was Woden. There are not one but two faces in the rock. One is inverted, and for me that is Woden putting all of his energy back into the earth, and it is no surprise that there is an ash tree growing beside him. So I have renamed this beautiful sanctuary not the Devil's Chimney, that must have been penned by some Victorian or a monk with a pen back in the Victorian times, but Woden's Golden Eye Sanctuary, and it does form the impetus for the final book. So please, I invite you to take another short journey with the Wihtwara in this second excerpt. This next reading is from the last book in the Wihtwara Trilogy series. It is chapter 3, and the title is Woden's Golden Eye Sanctuary. The main character is a young boy named Athelstan, meaning noble stone, and he becomes the main lead character in the very final book, part 2, as he tackles the onslaught from the growing missionary Christian onslaught into the lives of the Wihtwara, the Kantawara and the Mianwara. Hild crept silently around the sheepskin mounds covering the sleeping couple, Ildrid and Elfreda, parents to her nephew Athelstan. He had grown into his name, Noble Stone. He was of royal blood, directly descended from Dagranwal and Warini to his fingertips. He could hear and reply to the Witig Stan, the sacred stone. Almost before he could walk, the Nornir had set his fate in this life. Hill knew full well the responsibility lay on her and the kindred to safeguard Athelstan. His journey began here, this night. The torch flame she carried in her gnarled hand threw dancing shadows across the walls of the upper space in the mead hall. The shutters were drawn, for the night, still bitterly cold, was frost-laden. Ethelfrid and Ethelind, The daughters slept noisily, both twitching and muttering in their sleep. As twins, they shared their lives in total synchronicity. Barely recognizable from each other, they played many games with parents and relatives. She called them, out of earshot, the Valkyrie Geswias. Elflida bore a disproportionate love for her twin daughters, whose birth and healthy growth was a miracle from Nerthos herself. Her boy was left much to his own devices, and came under the wing of Heald from an early age. The twins must remain in their dream state. Athelstan, to his credit, slept as far away as possible from them. Hild gently nudged him. He was a light sleeper, and turned almost immediately to peer wide-eyed at his Modrige. "Hey, what adli anthu, Modrige? What ails you, aunt?" he asked huskily, licking his parched lips. Hild handed him a wooden goblet of water, saying in the lowest of whispers, "Thin arrest cunian nefa, your first test, nephew." "Where?" he whispered back, pushing his sheepskins back, and standing up, shaking himself, fully awake. "Stipel, near St. Glyn's. There has been a landslip, cliff fall. Your clothes are with your gelding. Come, we must go. Mona is full. It must be this twilight." She ushered him along, creeping down the loud creaking open stairs. Athelstan heaved the layers of woolen tunic over his head, dancing in the frost-laden earth outside the hall. 3 tunics and 2 leggings, 1 hemp, and other thick wool gave the young boy insulation. Topped by an old Britannicus cape, he presented a mound of wool to his gelding. He looked up at the moon as they cantered away. She was full, giving a subtle glow all around Earth Mother. Bathing Nerthos in this gentle light, with little wind, it seemed her breath was holding, forever waiting to spring alive in the warmth of Suni. And for this dark beauty, Athelstan began to sing, for he was a Nichtgala, night singer, and he was gifted with Siorth.
Seven dropper for Suna, 6 dropper from Getbriad and Gesianun, Gimen, 5 dropper and set me Wesinan, fewer dropper et sin me Haglan, 4 dropper et Suni, 2 dropper et Wihtwara, and dropper et min Modrige. Hail!
Hail to you, Mona, mother of the waters, keeper of life. I swim with you in the dark of the night. 9 drops for the Nonia, 8 drops for Woden and Freya, 7 drops for Thunor, 6 drops heard and heeded, 5 drops for the newborn, 4 drops for the newly died, 3 drops to Suni, 2 drops to the Wihtwara, 1 drop for my Aunt Hild. Hild smiled quietly, saying nothing, but felt a laugh bubbling up at the 1 drop given to her by her pupil. It was a reduction spell, and that last dropper the most powerful, so she squashed the laughter and acknowledged the tribute given by her young 7-year-old pupil going on 70. They continued at a trot through the frozen land, expertly ducking branches overgrowing along the old track. It was the quickest way to Stipel, rarely used and reclaimed by the forest now. An owl, white and shining in the night, glided gracefully past, hooted into the mist and looked back. A sign, Hild thought. The ancestors now know we are coming. Athelstan raised his small arm in tribute. Westuhal, Mona, he shouted, vapour swirling around his hooded face. This is important, Modrish. Tell me why we are going to the landslip. Hild trotted alongside him, pulled her pony in to steady his faster gait, and chose her words carefully. Firstly, Athelstan, it is an adventure, unique. I doubt you will experience the like of it again. Open your heart completely, honour your ancestor. Above all, be part of the solution and not the problem. To do otherwise will muddy your thinking. Gise, Modrijal, Athelstan replied, irritated by her vagueness. Why? You'll see, came the cryptic reply, as Hild buttoned her mouth tight shut and cantered off in silence. Mona slid behind the building clouds. The world became dark, nearly as dark as the thoughts of Athelstan, who harboured a growing anger. Hild produced a tallow torch and lit it with embers from her tin box pouch she always carried. She said it warmed her old bones. The light flickered for a few moments, then settled to throw the dancing light along the path. They slowed the pace. The new black buds of overhanging young ash trees glistened with the growing dew, and they heard the rustle of disturbed animals disappearing into the depths of the black forest. Athelstan decided that singing his way through the journey was the best remedy, and he began a bawdy chorus about some terrible twins whose fate was sealed when they crossed the older brother. Hild chuckled quietly and thought it quite original and fine. The woodland suddenly fell away to gift open hills and a steep decline towards Stapir. Senclin, several spears' length away, showed the tops of the Siestawick, where Hild would take Athelstan come the dawn. Hild eased her old bones from the horse and gave the reins to Athelstan, who hobbled both mounts and gave them large hemp bags of hay. We will need these ropes, Hild explained, as she unravelled the coil, which was knotted at intervals. The landfall is fresh, unstable, and we must tie ourselves to the rope in case we fall. She tied the double knot around her young Nefa, and then herself, testing for strength. Satisfied, she swirled both ropes around the ancient deep-rooted ash and triple-knotted for extra security. She silently sent a prayer to Woden. For Athelstan, the anticipation and the mystery bubbled over, and he began to stride towards the cliff edge. "Verstopian Thununwita! Stop, you idiot!" Hild screamed, grabbing him by the arm so fiercely she swore she heard bones dislocate. "If you fall, you will fall against me. Do you understand? Come after me." They eased over the cliff edge, and knot by knot arrived at a plateau of sinking fresh mud. She led him slowly, testing each footfall, until they reached the newly exposed cliff face. It was pitch black. She lit 3 torches and made a semicircle of flame, the glow bringing the cliff face to dramatic life. She heard a huge intake of breath from her Nefa, as the air left his lungs completely, and she asked in deep silence, "Athelstan, light of my life, what is it that you see?" "Minil Fader, my old father, Woden, he is here, he is here, he is here," he kept whispering. "He is smiling, O Modrij, he is smiling at me, at me." The flame light brought the huge face of Woden to life. A large eye, embedded with gold, shone out to fix Athelstan with a beatific smile. The other eye was winking. Hild felt tears well up as the young boy, so young yet ancient in his soul, creeped forward to gently touch the stone face before him. Standing high on his heels, he could begin to discover the wisdom meant for him alone. Hild knelt on the giving soil, sending up the pungent aroma of Nerthos, fresh and alive. She let her tears fall, for she knew what was to come and what lay in wait for her Nephar. She rummaged in her leather bag for the small, pristine, blown glass bowl, holding it close to her heart, waiting in the shadowed dark for dawn to arrive. Athelstan remained still, almost frozen, both hands now stretched wide on the stone face of his Eilfeder. Head bowed, mouth moving in silent prayer, he remained, a tiny human form against the giant cliff face. Hild thought he may have disappeared altogether if it were not for the sudden movement, a jolt, like a lightning bolt speeding through the boy's body. Athelstan began to speak, head held high, but in a voice not of his own. Deep and resonating in an older tongue, Woden spoke.
Verlaag wil set en strem nu, en Essian licks accent will an become begin and set farther than from live. Set wordia, will an be a screes under the regaden great sans. Set for Eden from live will an wexian, set ord fel methos un driftkan, un gidan will an wesan. Gath tore from unforgun. Min hello dropas, will an weary and thit gemont from nethos lufion und unwield. Elsewhere, min hair droppers flowing from min gilden age, swa he skulan wesan a wearian, unbinan thet gilden oncles. We willan ne wesan thu girtan. Many twilights now, from now a great pretender will come to begin the betrayal. The Wihtwara will see and feel much pain. The betrayal will grow until our beloved Nerthos and our gods and goddesses will be torn from us and betrayed. My tears will hold safe the memory of Nerthos' love and my power, as my tears flow from the golden eye. So they must be protected within the golden statue. We will not be forgotten.
Athelstan fell into a heap at the base of the cliff, shuddering and crying. Hild rushed forward to embrace him, to hold him and comfort the boy. Two lonely human figures at the beginning of the dawn, as Suni very slowly showed her face to the world. The flame still flickered and caught the glistening beginning to appear at the golden eye of Woden. Madrij, Madrij! Athelstan shouted. Look, the Helig Stan is weeping. Hild brought the gas vial forward. Hold it there, she commanded gently, lifting the boy's arm up to hold the glass to the small cleft. And there they both stayed, as the boy repeated the Nikgala chant that he had miraculously sung at the start of their journey. Hild hugged Athelstan closely, sending all her strength through him, until no more tears came from the golden eye, and Suni sent shafts of warmth to their aching muscles. There are many places across this land of ours that have not survived the changing of those names that honour Woden, honour the pagan way of life. We think of several, like the Devil's Chimney, the Devil's Punch Bowl, Devil's Dyke. It goes on and on right across the country, but the one place that has stayed faithful is Woden's Bjorg, Woden's Hill, over at Wodenborough in Kent. Worth a visit, I would say. The everlasting hero Ivindra, great-great-grandson Ivindra Wall from the first book, is tasked with creating a golden statue of Woden to be taken to Kant at a place that still survives today as Wodenborough in Wodenbjorg, and it's very close to where the Wihtwara first landed. This island is as sacred now as it was then, and we are gathering again. The community of the island is getting stronger. We gather together and we honour and remember our ancestors. That vacuum was that created so long ago is being filled every day. And the numbers are growing right across the land. The Druid community, pagan community is getting so strong. We remember our ancestors, and we know them. We walk with them as they walk with us. When I put my hand to the long stone all those years ago, and I was shown the scenes, the visions of what happened then, that journey for me began, and it still continues. So let's celebrate the joyful time, the summer that we have ahead of us. Bletsunga Biote.